Hello and welcome to another episode of Step Up with Stefani, life lessons that elevate the soul. I am your host, Stefani Morrow, and thanks for being here today. So today we're going to talk about aligning our vision and values, and I really love talking about this topic. In my work, I've had the opportunity to work with so many different leaders and organizations and mainly schools. And I can remember when I worked particularly in a school improvement role, one of the things that I would do when I would go into a building is I would go to classrooms and talk with teachers and ask them what was the vision of the school or the district. And you'd be appalled. Many of the teachers could not talk about the vision. They were in classrooms, they were doing really hard work, really great work, engaging in teaching and learning. But many of them could not talk about the vision of the organization or how their work was aligned to the vision of the organization. And so that always comes back to mind when I think about how important it is that our vision and our value system actually merge together. I often say, are your visions and values married? They should be married. They should be one. They should be complementing each other and really living in a way that really one supports the other. And so today we're going to be talking about vision and values and how really to align those things. And so here are some ways that you might know that your vision and value system are actually diametrically opposed, or they're fighting, or they're separated, they're about to get a divorce. One of the ways that you know that you've got a vision system, a belief system that is not allowing your vision and value to complement each other is that you feel like you're living in misalignment. You feel like things are out of sorts. An aligned life is an inspired life, right? And so when you don't have really a lot of clarity around your vision and how your value system really should be working together, you'll find that you are often in misalignment. You are in chaos, right? You can't articulate what the vision is. You have a value system that is not really working towards bringing that vision to pass or helping you to realize that vision, and everything is just chaotic. I often talk about the decision that I made about 10 years ago when I stepped away from, the principalship. And at the time, I had a really big vision, for my life, but I also had a value system, and there were some things that were fighting. I can remember dropping my daughter off at the daycare in the mornings, and it would be dark outside. And sometimes after a long day, it would be dark in the afternoon, or in the evening rather, when we would go to pick her up. And I just remember feeling really conflicted about that. Like, how is it that you've got this great vision that you want, this family, this strong family unit, and you want to leave a legacy and all of this, but your entire day is spent at work, and your kid is at the school, at the preschool, from sun up to sundown. And so I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but for me, it left me feeling really, really conflicted because the two things weren't really jiving, and I felt misaligned. It was why I made the decision to leave that role and took one of the biggest leaps that I've ever made in life, right? And so just begin to think about that. Like, where are you feeling misaligned? You've got a vision for your life, but you're living out a value system. And by the way, when I talk about vision, I'm not talking about something that you write and stick on a wall. I'm talking about, how are you living? You live a vision. You don't write a vision. You may initially write out a vision, but you have to live out a vision. So how are you living in a way that really reflects the value system? So if I'm saying in my value system that my family is important, and that spending time with my children is important, and building a strong family unit is important, I can't do that if I've got a vision that's pulling me in another direction. So how do I now make these things work, work together, or begin to work in tandem? When I made that leap, I took a huge pay cut and took a job that allowed flexibility. And so even before the pandemic, I was home based. I was working from home. I was doing remote work. And as I look back, that has been my norm for the last decade. For the last 10 years, I've not reported to an office every day. I've done contract work, I've done travel work, I've done all kinds of things that have given me great flexibility. And so my children have only known mom or dad, or in some instances, mom and dad being home when they got home from school. That was important to me. It was important for me to earn a living because we also had financial goals and visions that we set for ourselves as a family, but also our presence was important as well. And so when I made that leap, right, the circumstances and all of the things that needed to come together came together in concert and in a way that I could not have planned for myself, right? And so my kids are in middle school now. They've never been latchkey kids. There has always been an adult home to receive them when they get off the bus in the afternoon. My husband and I joke all the time because from the time my son was in kindergarten all the way through fifth grade, my husband walked him into school every single year on the first day of school. And so we've got these pictures of kinder through fifth grade with dad and son walking into the school holding hands. That's a beautiful memory. But because we had aligned our visions and our values, and while work was important, we knew that nothing came before the family unit that we wanted to create. And so, did we have to make some sacrifices? Did we have to move some things around? Did some things happen along the way? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we were able to create a life where the vision and the value system, and even to this day, I still work in ed tech, I work in instructional design, I work from home. I'm highly flexible. I have active kids. I'm able to be in their lives. I'm able to take them to their activities and all of that. And I'm still building out this vision that I have, even for now, the business that I'm starting and that I'm creating. And so think about that misalignment. Where are your vision and your values not really jiving? You say that something's important, but everything that you're doing is moving you in the other direction. Another way to know if your visions and values are aligned is around this idea of accountability, right? Where are you lacking accountability, or the lack of accountability is also an indication that you've got a vision and a value system that is not working in sync, right? So, for example, I've been doing a lot of work around just cleaning up my vibrations around food, right? I hate titles. I hate, labels and things like that. So I don't ascribe to any certain type of diet or anything like that. But I am making some shifts in the foods that I'm eating and that I'm consuming and just learning more about that. And so with that comes a level of accountability, right? Accountability first to self, right? Like I don't have a coach or anyone that I'm working with that I'm having to report in, but that level of self accountability, because I've got a vision for my life that I want to be here. And I don't want to just be here. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be thriving. I don't want to be a burden to my family, to my children. I want to be here, right? And when I'm here, I want to be here. I want to experience, all that this version of this life has to offer. But I can't do that in a way if I'm not healthy. So if I know and understand that food is a part of that health journey, right? There are lots of dimensions of wellness, but if I know that that is a dimension of wellness that I've got to be able to take seriously and to make some changes in and to transform, I've got to be accountable to that. And so if you find that you are resistant, you don't want accountability, you don't want to make the changes, you don't want to make the necessary shifts, that is, an indication that you've probably got a vision for your life, right? And a value system that's not working in tandem. Another place where you probably see this is in money, right? I often talk about some of the bad theology that we inherited around money. Everything from money doesn't grow on trees. Now I'm saying, okay, you're right. So where does it grow? Where does it come from? This scarcity mentality, a lot of impoverished thinking that maybe you've been brought up with about money, that you've got to work hard for money and there's not enough to go around, and all of these stories that we now hold as beliefs. The thoughts that we have about it. Abraham Hicks says that a belief is simply a thought that you keep having. And so we keep having these certain thoughts around money, but everyone that I know says with their mouths that they want to be wealthy. or that they want to live a life of financial freedom. But that's your vision. But what's the value system? So the value system means that you're handling money differently, that you're firstly changing your money blueprint. And that, what does that look like? Maybe you're learning ways to maximize or to multiply your money. Maybe you've not invested before, but you're finding where you're becoming more interested in ways to leverage your money, right? All of these types of things. You are interested possibly in starting a side gig or a side hustle in addition to your day job. But I'll just step out for just a minute and say, I just reject any ideas or theologies that this is a thing where you quit your job and you go get your laptop and get on the beach and make a lot of, like, I don't subscribe to that thinking at all. And so be leery of any coach or teacher or anybody that's telling you to make those kinds of jumps or take those types of risks when you're not ready. That's part of being soul led. Everyone's journey. I know people that have jumped and they've jumped right into their next level. And I've also known people that have jumped prematurely and they've jumped right to the bottom, right? So you've got to be soul led on that journey. There's no one way to get where it is that you want to be. And so be thinking about how is it that you've got this vision for your life. You want to be healthy. You want to be wealthy, but you've got a value system that you're living that is that's going to totally, an opposite direction. So those things have to be brought into alignment. So we know that when we're misaligned, that's an indication that our vision and that our value system is not working together. We know that when we lack the ability to be held accountable for things, right? And I often say self-accountability is the most important level of accountability. Coaches and partners and accountability groups, those things are great. But it's time to go to another level. So I don't need a coach to hold me accountable. She can help me, he can help me, but I need to be holding myself accountable to the person that I see in the mirror every morning. And so another way that you may be able to tell that your vision and value system is not really in sync is maybe you are living in imposter syndrome, right? You're lacking authenticity. You don't feel authentic in your work. And that could be a thing that could also be holding you back and keeping you from making your next move, whatever that move might be. And so when we think about that imposter syndrome, you never feel good enough. Maybe you're always saying things to yourself like, I'm not good enough, or it's not time yet, or I'll be ready when, or I would be ready or if I only had this, I'd be able to do that. And all of these things that we tell ourselves. And I can speak to that from personal experience, right? Even before, the hiatus that I took during the pandemic and really kind of stepped away from my business and all of the things that I was doing, I felt a little bit of that. Am I really good enough? Do I really know enough to, be teaching this stuff? Am I good enough to where people will listen to me and kind of latch on to what I'm saying? Do I know enough to be leading a movement, to be leading a community of women and doing, this work of transformation and evolving? And so you deal with that. But part of that was because I had a vision for where I wanted to go, and I had a value system that wasn't fully supporting that vision. And so I needed to make some changes in that value system. And one of the ways that I began to do that is to invest in myself at a really, really high level. And what does that look like? So I'm creating a community and I'm creating an opportunity for women to be able to invest in themselves. I can't do that unless I'm making those same investments in myself. So I've worked to really grow my craft. I've worked to really sharpen, the work that I do and sharpen my voice and sharpen everything that's in my tool belt so that as I'm working with women in the community and in the work that I'm doing in the community that I'm building, that I'm able to do that at a high level. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to be talking about some things that you can do if you want to bring your vision and your value system in alignment. Hi, I'm Stephanie Morrow, the founder at Solstice Unlimited, where I teach high achieving professional women how to come into alignment with their soul's highest purpose. Vision is a great part of that work, which is why I'll be hosting a vision board experience called Vision and Vino in the Dallas area on Saturday, December the 2nd. Why vision boarding? I think vision boarding is so important because it gives us an opportunity to not only think about the vision, but also think about some of the steps that it's going to take to accomplish that vision. I'll be teaching on that at this experience. So not only is it vision boarding, it's going to be a wine tasting, it'll be the holidays, it'll be a great time to enjoy some holiday festivities in community with other like-minded women. Go to solsticeunlimited.com to grab your seat today. Remember, seating is limited, and I hope to see you there. I hope you'll be my special guest this year for Vision and Vino. All right, welcome back. So now I want to share just a few tips with you for some ways that you can begin to really align your vision and your values. And so one of those is really to begin thinking about focusing on your growth. If we go back to the idea of imposter syndrome, one of the reasons that we have imposter syndrome is because there are usually some deficiencies, right, in our skill set or in something that we want to do. And we've not really taken the time to grow ourselves in that area. So you feel like a fake, right? You feel like a phony. So for example, say for instance, you are a speaker or you want to be a speaker and you're saying, I really want to speak. I'm getting these opportunities, but when I get up to speak, I'm feeling like an imposter. I don't feel, like I'm good enough. Well, the reality is you could probably grow in that area. And one of the ways that you could do that could be working with a speaker coach or someone that could be training you or helping you to really hone your craft or hone your skill around speaking. Or maybe you have a home-based catering business. It could be anything. And you're saying, okay, I really want to do this, but when I show up, I don't, feel like I'm being true and authentic and all of that. So how can you grow? How can you expand your skill set? How can you learn a little bit more? Maybe you start attending a few classes or learning from people that are a couple of steps further ahead of you on the journey. There are all types of communities, right, that you can go and be a part of and get information and get access to different ideas and techniques and things to begin to expand your skill set. But it doesn't happen without intention. Growth has to be intentional. It has to be purposeful. Remember, you've got a big vision and you've got to live out a value system that's going to help you to achieve that vision. So those two things have to be connected. When they're not, remember that we're living in misalignment. And so there has to be this huge emphasis on personal growth, right? And it can't be the responsibility of your employer to grow you. Maybe you're still working in a corporate space or a professional space. That's great. You get some professional learning on the job and that type of thing. But how are you going to grow your craft and your skill? How are you going to do that? You've got to take responsibility. Remember, you've got to take the accountability to do that. And so your growth has to become your priority. No one around you is going to push you to grow. You've got to do that work. You've got to decide what that looks like. And that could change. It could look like different things in different seasons of your life, depending on what it is that you want to accomplish. Another way that you can begin to align your vision and value statement is to not only to write out that vision and what it is that you want to accomplish, but keep metrics, right? Keep track of the things that you're doing that are either building you toward that vision or things that are taking you away from that vision. So for example, I talked about eating earlier. And so maybe your, goal is to adopt a better lifestyle around your food choices. For example, keeping a food journal and writing down everything that you eat over a period of time could be a simple way of keeping some metrics and keeping some data on what you're doing and going back and reflecting and saying, okay, these are things that are moving me towards my vision and my goal. These are the things that are taking me away. And so how do I now begin to replace those things, right? I believe a lot in spiritual and natural law. And so the law of replacement now comes into play. So if certain things are not good for you or you perceive them to not be helping you to move along your journey, how can you now replace them with something better, right? That feels better. A lot of times, especially around food, we'll say, Things like, but I can't have that, or I can't do that, or, there's a long list of things that I can't have, and that doesn't feel good, right? So replace that idea around things that you can have. What are things that I can now replace those things with, and begin to keep track of that. I often say what gets measured gets done. And so keep track of the things that you're doing and the activities that you're engaging in that are either helping you or hindering you. Everything that you're doing is helping or hindering. There's nothing that's not moving you in either of those directions. Sometimes you feel like things aren't pushing or pulling, but everything is either pushing or pulling you towards the vision. I love it. Michael Beckwith says that pain pushes, but vision pulls. And so what direction are you being pulled in, right? Vision is that thing that tugs at you all the time. But you've got to have a value system that helps you to respond to that tug in a way that is going to lead to the manifestation of something great, to the realization of your dream. And so when we think about connecting our vision and value system, I'd love to have you to be a part of the event that I'll be hosting in Dallas on Saturday, December the 2nd. It's called Vision and Vino, and it is a wine tasting holiday event, and it is a vision board experience. And I'll be teaching around some of the strategies and going a little bit more in depth around this idea of aligning our vision and our value system. A lot of times at vision board parties, they're a lot of fun. We've got all these books and magazines, and we're cutting out pictures and papers and, pictures of things that we want to do, and we're pasting them on poster boards and all of that. But I often say, what is it going to take to get there? So maybe you've got something on your vision board. I want to make $1 million this year. Maybe what you tell yourself, or $100,000, or whatever, lose 100 pounds, whatever you've got on this vision board. And that's great. I believe that's the first step. But we're going to be going a little bit deeper in this session, and we're going to be talking about some of the daily habits that you have to have, some of the paradigm shifts, and some of the mental shifts that you're going to need to take to be able to make those big dreams a reality. And so once again, I'd love to have you to be a part of this experience that we're going to have, where we're going to be bringing women in community in the Dallas area on Saturday, December the 2nd for Vision and Vino. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also get tickets and grab you a seat for Vision and Vino at solsticeunlimited.com. Thanks for being here today, and I'll see you inside the next episode.